So dinosaurs are pretty cool, but they're dead. They're all extinct. They're all gone. We're not them. We're not dinosaurs. We have the ability to contemplate and think about extinction. That's not something any other species on the planet is privy to, the ability to comprehend our own existence. So we can actually think about how we can go extinct. We can think about how we can prevent that. And not only that, we can go farther than that. We can think about how other animals can go extinct, what dangers they're in, and how that would have an impact on us. Our little noggins are quite the powerful tool. So natural selection, it's the mechanism to make species. Different organisms have different chances of survival based on different variations. When you have two of the same species, two groups of the same species in different areas, their variations will change over time, and you'll end up with two different species eventually. Right now on the planet, we've got 8.74 million different species. That's quite a bit. That's not even mentioning the ones that have gone extinct prior to today. Some estimates say that the 8.74 million species that we have today is only 1% of all the different species that have ever existed. So that's nearly 1 billion different species. So humans, we are truly exceptional though. We can solve problems. We see something that faces us and we can tackle it head on. We can defeat those challenges. So far, we haven't come across a challenge that has stopped us. We're still here. So that is our greatest strength. That is the thing we are best at, solving problems. But man, do we suck at foreseeing consequences. Things come up that we didn't see when we solved a problem. So, for example, we have an energy problem right now. So we're like, hey, we don't want to pump up more carbon dioxide up into the air, so why don't we use dams? Well, how about that cool idea? We'll block off some water and we'll generate electricity using the weight of that water falling down. Brilliant. But then they flood the entire backsetting behind the dam, and that screws up the ecosystems all behind that dam. There's consequences. We need to deal with those consequences afterwards. We don't see the problems before we make them. Wind turbines, another example of something. Let's use the wind to power our houses. A great idea. But then these spin blades in the air start chopping birds out of the sky like crazy, and you end up with this like massacre of birds. Like every year, tens of thousands of birds die to wind turbines. Just get out of the way, the fan bird, silly bird. We rip, cut, dig, demolish so much of the ecosystems that we live near every year. Just as an example, the rainforests down South America and Africa, we are destroying those at such an alarming rate. 50% of all of the species that exist on Earth today live in the rainforests. And we're cutting them down. We're cutting down 2,000 trees per minute in the rainforests. The rainforests only make up 6% of the land on our Earth. 6%. 50% of the species that exist live on that 6%. And we are obliterating that rainforest. We're causing organisms to go extinct like day after day, just cutting them down. Man, that's a problem. Where's that problem coming from? It's our obsession with beef. How hilarious is that? It's not for logging, although that's some of it. The majority of the reason we're cutting down rainforests is because we have run out of space in North America and Europe to house cows. The number one reason we're cutting down the rainforests is to make space for cows. Man, God, that's got to sink in. You guys think that the majority of your beef comes from Alberta, that AAA awesome sweet Alberta beef that we're so proud of here, and the majority of it actually is imported from South America and Europe. Unless it's got that little sticker on the package saying AAA Alberta beef, you're getting it from somewhere else. North Americans really are beef obsessed, and it's a problem because we're down there, and we had this problem of needing more food, more beef specifically for humans in North America. So we started causing a whole host of other problems to solve this other problem. And this is just typical humanity. This is something that we do. We see a problem, we come up with a solution, and then we make more problems out of it. Now, humanity is still around, so clearly the problems that we're solving are more important than the problems that we're creating, or else humanity would have screwed itself a long time ago. But nonetheless, the problems that we're creating by cutting down the rainforests are something a little scary for our future. One, like, those trees are like the lungs of the earth. They're producing oxygen for us. We can't do without oxygen on this planet. That's a scary one. On top of that, a lot of the rainforests are in poverty-stricken places of the planet, in the developing world. There's 1.2 billion people of the 7 billion people on this planet that rely on those rainforests. They live around the rainforests, they get their food and water and shelter, their resources, all of it come from those rainforests, and we're cutting them down. We're taking away the rainforests from those people. Definitely worth a look if you're interested in that kind of atrocity. Look at the Yanomami in South America. It's a pretty sad story. Like, they're pushed and shoved out of their land just so that we can put in cow farms. Hooray. The rainforest provides so much more for us as well. They do provide lots of sources of lumber. There's so much of our medicine comes from the rainforests. You'd be actually really surprised to find out how many medical things we have started harvesting from there. As I said, we are terrible at looking at our future. That's just the human condition. We are terrible planners. But on top of that, the money and food that's generated from cutting down the rainforest is so short-sighted. The rainforest the land that the rainforest is on is actually really bad. It's not that suitable for life once you remove the trees. Once you remove those, what's left in the soil is actually really nutrient poor. There's the cows and other farms that we've put there just don't last very long. They're becoming like the desertification, like the rate at which they become desert is alarmingly high. So we're ripping this up and we're getting just such a short-term benefit from it, and we're losing the rainforests to boot. Man, we are so short-sighted. It is just bang your head on a wall. Water, it's one of our most precious resources. It's something that we humans can't live without, and we are polluting our rivers and lakes and oceans at an alarming rate. We're watching complete die-offs of species in and around polluted areas. And like, for example, in our oceans, we started noticing that seabird populations were declining really rapidly. So we started investigating a little bit into it, and what do we find? We find albatrosses, typical seabird, and they seem healthy and vibrant, and then all of a sudden dead. So we start investigating. We start looking at these albatrosses, do a little autopsy on them, cut them open, and they are full of plastic. Their belly's right full of this indigestible junk that we've thrown away. In fact, when they look in water and see a little piece of plastic bobbing in the water, they can't tell if that's plastic or something unhealthy for them. They assume it's a fish. What else bobs in the water? At worst, it's a piece of wood or something, but at best, it's a fish. So they go down, they catch it, and they come back up, and they swallow this thing, and that's what they're feeding to their babies too. They go back to their nest and regurgitate that into their babies. So their babies, their stomachs are full of plastic as well. And you might be wondering, why is there so much plastic in the ocean that these seabird populations are getting overwhelmed by the amount of plastic in there? So we start looking even closer. That question brought us to start examining the oceans. And what we found is these massive, and I mean massive, garbage patches of pure plastic sitting in the ocean. These mid-Pacific garbage patches. To explain how these garbage patches even get there, we're going to have to talk about currents. So wind currents and ocean currents. Specifically, let's look at this little map. Ocean currents around the equator, they pick up heat and they move upwards towards the poles, or downwards if you're in the southern hemisphere. And it goes up there, it cools down, and then it comes back down to the equator. And then it picks up heat again, and it gyres. It circles, going around and around and around. So just like when you flush a toilet or something, when you have spinning motion like that, the heavier stuff kind of just concentrates into the center. And that's exactly what's happening with this plastic. This stuff that floats and this stuff that doesn't break down, if it ends up in our oceans or our rivers, it'll concentrate into the center of the ocean. We're finding these massive garbage patches, and it's unimaginably big. The size, some estimated sizes of this thing is 700,000 square miles. That's about the size of Texas, one of the biggest states in the United States. That's a massive size of like a big plastic dump. We have to solve that problem eventually. Extinctions happen. Species come, species go, and humans haven't been part of all of that. When we look in the fossil records, we've made estimates that, again, only 1% of the species alive today are the ones that have existed through all of time. So 99% of any species that have ever existed has gone extinct. They haven't succeeded at propagating themselves. So the dinosaurs, they held such a great legacy. They had so much power on the planet. They were the species for such a long period of time. And then, bam, 65 million years ago, they're gone. Mass extinctions happen. We've seen in the fossil record several of these mass extinction events. 5 to be specific, where we see, like, on one layer of the rocks a whole bunch of different species, and then the layer above it, most of those species are suddenly gone, and like down to like 1%, like a huge chunk of species gone. And we're concerned that we are getting to that point again, that at this point there are so many species going extinct that we think we might be in the middle of another mass extinction event. But this one isn't caused by a supervolcano. This one isn't caused by some rogue meteorite. This one's caused by us. Since humans have started having an impact on the planet, about 100,000 years ago, when we started like cutting down trees and started really impacting the landscapes that we were in, since humans have really started that, we've changed our planet. We can see the effect of humans on the atmosphere. We can see the effect of humans in the oceans. We can look at the rainforest and notice that there's a large chunk of the rainforests gone. That's us. That's us changing things. And we are causing an astronomically high number of species to go extinct. We are the mass extinction event of the planet today. That's scary, guys. That's really scary. As the only species that is actually aware of these extinctions that are going on all around us, and for us, the ability to be problem solvers, it falls on us. We are the stewards of this earth. We need to take care of it. We need to, if not for the other species, for us, because without them, we're cooked. So in order to preserve ourselves, we need to be conservative minded. We need to think about how we can protect the earth. So humans have come up with two main strategies on how to conserve the earth. The first one we're going to talk about is called in situ conservation. That roughly translates to protect them in place. So we are going to protect organisms, species, right where they live. Let's talk bears. Grizzly bears are a fantastic species. They're what's called a keystone species. They're one that has an impact on hundreds of other species around them. They control populations because they're predators. They pass around seeds, like they'll eat seeds of berries and move them and poop them in a new spot, which spreads plants. They dig up roots. Ultimately, they have a big impact on the area around them. We have extirpated grizzly bears from the prairies. Extirpated is similar to extinction in that extirpated means you removed them from an area. So the prairies, the lower lying areas of Alberta here, we have eliminated the grizzly bear from here. They still exist in the mountains though, so they're not extinct, but they're extirpated. Now, that's not good. They're like I said, they're an important species. So we still do recognize that they still are around, and we can still do something about where they are today. So we have an in situ conservation effort called the Y2Y, the Yukon to the Yellowstone. So from the Yukon Territories to Yellowstone National Park in the United States. It's a conservation effort, again, to protect the grizzly bears and the wolves as well, though that's another keystone species in the area. By protecting those two species, you ultimately end up protecting hundreds of other species in the area. That kind of conservation effort is well worth our time. In situ conservation is certainly not without its challenges. There's a lot of things to consider, a lot of loopholes to jump through. If you want to protect an area, there's a lot of regulations and a lot of politics that goes into it. But we still need to function in that area. Humans still need to drive through the area. So we need to have a strategy in place so humans can go through the area, humans can do what we still need to do, and yet still work towards solving this problem. There's been some pretty genius overpasses that have been created, like these animal crossings, that have it's like a continuation of the forest over top of the road, and drivers just go underneath. Another type of conservation, aside from in situ conservation, is ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation roughly translates to protect them out of place. So protect them in a place that's not their home. Our most direct type of ex situ conservation is a zoo. Zoos are conservation efforts. They are touristy. People do go to see a zoo to look at the cool animals, but that is just to help the zoo generate money. Most of the time, all of the animals in a zoo are animals that have been rescued, animals that are endangered or threatened. They're taken out of their homes and bred in a safe place where they know, for example, they're not going to be preyed on. If we're down to like only 6 breeding pairs of a certain type of bird, you've only got 12 of them left in the wild, and you want to protect that species, you probably want to get them away from snakes and wolves and eagles and anything else that might kill them. So we bring them to a safe place, we breed them, we build up their population, and slowly release them back into the wild. Zoos are awesome. Animals aren't the only organism that needs protection. We also protect plants. There's something called a seed bank that is a great type of ex situ conservation. A seed bank pulls seeds from plants that live in the wild, and we put them in a nice safe place. We categorize them. Seeds are not like animals. They don't need to be constantly looked after. They don't even need that much space. A file folder is often enough. Sometimes a freezer or a fridge to help preserve them. So we can house a lot of seeds in a small area. Seeds, they can also last a really long time as well. So keeping them in a place like that really is kind of safe. The oldest seed that we've managed to bring back to life, although it was never dead, is a 32,000-year-old seed. That's pretty cool. That means we can effectively preserve plants. We can effectively take organisms out of the wild. Think about the rainforests. There's so many plants there that we just won't be able to study before it gets ripped up. So if we can manage to get some of their seeds, we can still study them, we can still learn about them, we can still potentially find new medicines and so much more. In summary, humans suck. We rip up our Earth at an alarming rate, and we have groups of humans that are recognizing this to be a big problem, and we have developed conservation efforts in order to protect the animals and plants that may one day serve to protect us more than we're protecting them right now. So conservation, it is an extremely important thing. We've got two different types of conservation. In situ conservation, protect them where they are, and ex situ conservation, take them out of their home and protect them in a new place. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. See ya.